All right, so now, James,
Yes,
let's
sir.
spend a little time talking about, I guess, your role in all this.
Okay.
I mean, and your role has obviously been significant, and you know, I got to learn a lot about your history, you know, in dealing with the guys over at Hitachi. And,
Sure.
had a few questions that I thought I'd ask you, you
Sure.
know, kind of firsthand.
Yeah.
You've got a, you certainly got a long list of credits in the movie business. You know, I've actually seen Gravesend, and it's one of those. I mean, it's an Eric Roberts movie, and I love
That's
Eric
right.
Roberts movies.
That's right.
So, like that fencing one that he did, you remember?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so I love Eric Roberts movies. So I was actually a big fan of the film, and you know, and then you know, you see the Mr. T videos. Very different.
Absolutely.
Very different. Was this the first made-for-the-web content that you've ever shot? You know, as a
For this, yes, absolutely. And I want it to be different. I really
Yeah.
want it to be different.
I think it is very different. You know, I think the aesthetic of it, by the way, is brilliant. I mean, it's so lighthearted while still delivering the point. And the actors, you seem to bring out this quality in the actors where it's almost self-aware that they're in the video.
I want it to be fun for everyone on the set.
Yeah.
I wanted everybody to have a good time. And I want also to shoot it in a very cinematic manner,
Mm-hmm.
where we introduce Fathead at the very beginning, where it
Right.
shows a low-angle tracking shot. Because I wanted to be a throwback to 1930s Frankenstein with the lighting from below the chin.
Right.
So it's like people say that it's like the first thing they gotta laugh when they see that. I mean, come on.
Right, well-
it's like we're going straight for laughs, but we're also hitting the message home about the content about virtualization, and that the master of virtualization is Mr. T.
That's right.
And who epitomizes more than Mr. T?
Right, he's a master.
Indeed he is. The man stands for morality.
Right.
Everything that's good.
Right. So I guess as part of the good, what I also thought was really good was the, also in the trucker video, which maybe it's just because it's the last one I saw, but it's now my favorite. The you know, when the car launches off the cliff.
Yes.
Was
that's
that
what-
is
yeah.
that a and the reason why I ask is we obviously do a lot of production here, and we use a lot of like stock footage and a lot of all stuff. Was that actually shot, or is that, you know, made up of stock?
No, that was stock footage. And when I talked to Steve Zavanek
Mhm.
about it, and also I'd like to say something about Steve Zavanek and Marianne Gallo, is that they're the ones who said, hey, no, we want to get a really extraordinary celebrity for these videos. And the two of them said, hey, is it possible to get Mr. T? And we went for it, and
Right.
we have the pleasure of working with Mr. T. Isn't it great?
Yeah, that's
So
it's.
I always believe in giving credit where credit's due.
So is that how is that what happened first? So they reached out to you?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
It's like there's a list of celebrities we're looking at, but it's like Mr. T was always at the top of the list. Always at the top of the list.
Oh,
And it's like,
period.
isn't it great?
Yeah, that's perfect.
And we got Mr. T.
That's great then.
So thank God we heard Mr. T and not Eric Estrada.
Right.
That's all I can say.
Eric Estrada is selling timeshare property.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's nuclear waste model. But I could be mistaken about that. Sorry, Eric. I just didn't mean to say.
You're good.
Yeah.
Did you prepare and shoot the Hitachi series significantly differently than the film work that you've done? Like you mentioned those tracking shots, and you mentioned like the use of stock footage, and but what would you say are the significant differences between something like that and something like Gravesend?
Well, so when you're shooting a motion picture, obviously you're on a very tight schedule for both. But the differences here is that you had a specific message, you had to stay on target with the message. You want to be as creative as possible, but you're also with clients such as Hitachi, it's like you've got X amount of dollars,
Right.
and it's like you have to stay within that budget. They're not interested in hearing, well, creative, you like to do this, got to shoot one more day. It's like, no.
Right, calling
So
investors.
it's like, you have to shoot this, and that's all there is to it.
Right.
And it was great, and it's like I had the full support of Marianne Gallo and Steve Zavanek,
great.
and they said you can do whatever you want within this frame.
Yeah,
They
and
were terrific. They
and
were
I think
great.
that's got speaking of Mary and Steve, I mean I think that's got to be a big lesson to be learned here is that when you've got the support structure, you get good work, and people have to want to do this kind of thing, and it can't be forced upon them, whether it's by an agency or whether it's by a consultant. I think it starts with the culture of the company, and I think it's got to come from it's got to be a mandate from high up, and I think it's got to trickle down into people that really want it to get done and done well.
Yeah, I agree with that, because it's like Hitachi Data Systems, it's like having worked with them for years, working with them in their, working with them, doing videos for them, and staging and lighting for their events and everything else. They've always been a forward-thinking company. They've always been ahead of the curve in everything they've done. And this kind of work right here exemplifies it. And Steve was one who said, you know, we need to do viral videos because it started to catch on, and they want to be the pioneers of it, be the first ones out there. And I think they've done a great job. They've got a great team over there, and I'm just proud to be working with them.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny because there have been videos that have, especially in the IT industry, that have been unintentionally viral. There were these videos that were done, I guess, in the mid-'80s for Windows. You know, there were a couple of, I think, a couple of people that wound up being in Friends actually were in that video, or you know, there were you know, some that Bill Gates was in. I mean, there have been all these things, but they've been unintentional, and they're probably about 15 to 20 years old. So you know, with the stuff that you guys are doing to make modern classics in an industry that is not necessarily thought of as being funny, has been a tremendous accomplishment. You guys have done a great job with it. So how much creative leeway did you get when producing these videos? Like, how much did they say, just James, go for it?
Actually, 100%, 100%. And it's like they didn't hold me back on anything. And it was great working with Steve on the scripts. Steve was great that way, and it's like he would come in and say, you know, I need a specific joke right here, but what's something we can say that fits in technically what you want? And so it's like he'd be great, he'd fill that in. Steve was very much so involved in the screenwriting process. And Marianne was also involved creatively as well. So it's a great team there at Hitachi. And they, like I said, they stood behind me 100%. They said, whatever you want to do. It's like all kinds of things. Like, for instance, so when we were shooting the trucker video, and Mr. T was like this, said, hey, Mr. T, take your hands off the wheel and start doing this. And someone in the background said, but won't he crash? I said, it's a video. I said, people should notice that. It's silliness. And not once did Marianne or Steve say, that's stupid, don't do that. They said, Steve was there saying, yeah, that's great, go ahead, let him do that. Yeah, and so it's like, exactly. So every silly idea I had, they said, yeah, that's great, that's terrific, do it. So they were very supportive, and they turned out really great. And like I said, they're a great team to work with.
That's great. That's great. Now, with the success of these videos, have you received any offers outside of Hitachi to do any work with this?
I have, as a matter of fact, and it's like I can't really name the companies, but they've actually said the thing is, like, what's interesting about this, other high-tech companies have called me and said, can you do the exact same thing for us, just like that, also with Mr. T? And I said, no, I can't do it with Mr. T. And no, I can't do the exact same thing. I can do something different for you. I said, but this is purely just for Hitachi. And I said, because the thing is, like, Hitachi always wants to do something different. And it's too bad that some people just want a cookie-cutter kind of thing where they want the exact same thing. And it's like, but that mentality permeates throughout our society.
Yeah, we get that too as an agency.
Yeah, it's like
we want what you did for them. I'm like, no, you want something different.
You want something different. That's right.
So yeah, I totally.
So I've told those people no. It's like Mr. T is just for Hitachi Data Systems, and that's it. Don't you agree, Marianne? She does.
That's right. So, what advice, as a parting shot, what advice, do you have for people shooting content that's made specifically for the web, whether it's for their own, but in my opinion, like aspiring professionals in this field, because I do believe that it's matured already into a field. So I mean, what advice can you give them?
Well, I would say if you're doing something like this, definitely work hand in hand with whomever the client is. Make sure you've got all of their subject matter down. Make sure you hit every single one of their parameters and listen to them and work with them and not try and take it all over. Because I've seen other people that say, well, that's great, that's what you want, but I'm going to do it this way whether you like it or not. And that's a very foolish thing to do because you need to get the message across, and that's the bottom line. And I was just blessed to be working with such a wonderful team.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you for coming in, James. I really appreciate it. Thank you for speaking with all of us. Thank you, Mr. T. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for everyone. Thank you, Hitachi.
Pleasure.
But
thank you.
Thanks again. Hope you guys are having a great day.
Yeah, we are, especially being here at Depot.
Exactly.
Thank you for the plug. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, all right, cool. Thanks, guys.
All right.
I really appreciate it.